All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking about a real feud in the world of country music. One that's very entertaining and interesting, and talking about that in real time for a couple of real people out there just like you and just like me. So before I get on with this Waylon Jennings, Garth Brooks thing, which is, it just exemplifies a lot of what's happening. It just amplifies authenticity versus popularity and all, and just being sincere about what it is that you're trying to do versus somebody who, you know, might be an interloper, might be a poser. And the Garth Brooks, Waylon Jennings thing is very funny and entertaining. So before I get to that, here's some real country music for you. And again, if you don't like country, I understand. I have a lot of people here waiting for me to talk about Journey or some other topic that I've worn pretty much threadbare. Flatland Cavalry, that's the name of this group. They're out of West Texas, and they're really good. This is their brand new album. It's called Wandering Star, and I would highly recommend it if you like, say, Hank Williams or the Rolling Stones, and you want to mix them up together. You might get Flatland. You might, although I think they're kind of their own thing. They've got their own vibe. It's very anti-Nashville, okay, which, again, is good, right? All right, speaking of anti-Nashville, Waylon Jennings has said some interesting things about Garth Brooks. This quote is being attributed to Waylon. He says, Garth Brooks is the most insincere person I've ever seen. This comes to us from the great country website called Whiskey Riff. All right. Don't drink whiskey and try to say Whiskey Riff, though, because I guarantee you you'll mess it up. Regardless of how you feel about them, it's undeniable that Waylon Jennings and Garth Brooks are two of the most influential names in the history of country music. Obviously, they were from different eras of country music. And from the time of his meteoric rise in the 90s, Garth was almost immediately hit with a criticism of being too pop for country, including from Waylon Jennings. Though he never really confirmed it in public, Waylon was reportedly not the biggest fan of Garth and his brand of country music. All right. So before I continue, though, Garth Brooks has done so much good for humanity, right? A couple of years ago, if you wanted to go attend a Garth Brooks concert, you needed a QR code to go. And Garth even had a tent outside of the concert where if you weren't updated with your latest safe and effective booster shot, you could go to the tent before you stepped in to the concert, you know, so you could protect grandma or grandpa, because that showed that you were virtuous and decent. Whereas the people that didn't want to inject themselves with something that, shall we say, might do some permanent damage to them, well, those people were considered selfish. A lot of people were bootlegging their cards. That's all I've heard it from people that I knew. Yeah, I got my card in the mail. Isn't it great? Like a counterfeit, like a fake ID. Here it is. You know, when they put you in that situation, I don't think it's immoral to do something like that. In fact, I think it's the right thing to do. But anyway, Garth was doing such a service to humanity, and obviously all of this feuding stuff was long before Garth was trying to save the world. Did he succeed, by the way, with saving the world? No. I will say this. Maybe his intentions were good, but based on his politics, right? He's just following the crowd, following the lemmings over the cliff. That's what Garth Brooks tends to do. And a lot of these people who don't want to make anyone angry or rock the boat, it's the most anti-Waylon Jennings thing you could do. Hence, this is probably why Waylon Jennings, not only based on the music, but probably based on Garth and his goofy persona, he probably just didn't like the guy. Here's an outlaw who comes along and sees somebody who's after, a few years, obsessed with Billy Joel. Hey, I want to be Billy Joel. I want to go out and sing songs with Billy Joel. Aren't you a country guy? Well, look, I'm not saying Garth wasn't impactful in the 90s. My view of Garth was, okay, they're going to play Garth Brooks in 15 minutes. Once I'm through with listening to Garth Brooks, I can get back to the other stuff that I enjoy more, which that was the case for me in the 90s. Now, yes, what was it? His second album was just ginormous, and it was good. There's no question. The first couple of Garth Brooks albums were sincere, but then he started to go in different directions. And now look where we are, right? Look where we are in country music. And so there's this quote that I can't do this because it's obscene, but Garth Brooks did to country music what pantyhose did for, and I will just stop there because it's very inappropriate. Allegedly, this quote was a Waylon Jennings quote, although they can't confirm it. If he did say it, it was never on record, and it's hard to tell where the quote actually came from. But there's another quote from Waylon Jennings talking about Garth that has a little bit more credibility to it. In his book, Dreaming Out Loud, Garth Brooks, Winona Judd, Wade Hayes, and the Changing Face of Nashville, Bruce Feeler recounted a quote from Waylon on Garth that showed how the country legend really felt about the then relative newcomer. He's the most insincere person I've ever seen. I remember a few years ago, an old buddy of mine who worked with Ernest Tubb was giving him an old record. He tried so hard to cry, but he just couldn't do it. He thinks it's going to last forever. He's wrong. So yeah, even if some of the quotes aren't exactly verifiable, I think everybody knew how Waylon felt about Garth Brooks. And even Garth himself claims that Waylon didn't like him, but was never quite sure why. I've been talking a lot about self-awareness lately. It's just funny that some people just don't see the fact that, yep, here's an authentic outlaw over here. And here I am, this interloper, this poser who's getting all kinds of, fame and fortune because I've decided to kind of bend the genre a little bit, which is different than bending the genders just a little bit. But anyway, it's funny how he couldn't see that coming, right? But Garth said this about Waylon Jennings. No, never met Mr. Jennings, and for some reason, I guess I was the guy that he targeted. I bet you it wasn't just Waylon Jennings. I bet you there were other outlaws at the time who were targeting, quote unquote, Garth Brooks. He makes it sound like, they painted a bullseye on his $1 billion back, right? I don't know if he's worth $1 billion, but he's probably worth several hundred million, I would say. And, he made that money, yes, because he's talented, but he made it too by being more pop than country. Let's just be honest here. He says this, and this is Garth again. It's kind of weird because of all the people that I looked up to and got me into the business. The reason I'm in the business was Waylon Jennings, people like Waylon Jennings. So he's basically saying, hey, I joined or I got involved with country music because of people like Waylon. He says, so everybody loves him and he's a legend. And I just kind of let it go. Well, he didn't completely let it go. He says here, I never knew what to say regarding Waylon. They go on to say, I think Garth probably knows the real reason a traditional outlaw country artist wasn't a fan of the genre-pushing megastar who made country music concerts a pop-like production. See, that's another big deal. You go see George Strait, for instance, and it's no frills. It's George and his band, the Ace in the Hole band. They get up there, they play the music. It's effective. People are happy about it. You don't need any of the bells and whistles of a Garth Brooks concert or a Shania Twain concert. That's the difference, right? Everybody's trying to make country into something. Look what's happened to country now. So anyway, Garth goes on and say, yeah, I was definitely the guy that he targeted. And it's kind of funny being the non-traditionalist then, and now everybody looks at you today like your stuff is as country as it gets. Well, that's because the Overton window has been moved when it comes to country music and pretty much every other genre. Right now, country sounds like bad R&B music. That's what it sounds like. And that's because of the non-traditionalist way of doing things, which started with people like Garth Brooks. It was tough for me because he was a country legend. And for some reason, I was the guy that got the brunt of it. I never took it personal. I just think he was addressing the different sound in country music and the changing of the guard. That's tough for anybody to handle. The guy's a legend and deserves nothing but respect. Well, why did there need to be a different sound in country music? And look where it's gotten us today. And I think it's more than just the changing of the guard. Did he attack Alan Jackson? I bet you he didn't. I bet you he didn't attack Travis Tritt, did he? No. Because those two guys were playing traditional. Did he ever go after Clint Black? You know, I mean, this has more to do with the fact that Garth, his personality, maybe even his politics, and yes, the music he made was taking country music and twisting and bending it, making it something else. Shania Twain did the same thing, and people today are doing it all over the place. I mean, even the mainstream guys today who have this country persona, you listen to their records and you hear this annoying license plate shaking bass beat that doesn't belong in the song. Hence, this is why, folks, I actually promote stuff like this, because this is country, right? And even if you don't classify it as like traditional country, because it's got some rock and roll tendencies here and there, and maybe some blues rock stuff going on, it's Americana, it's traditional, it's organic, and it's not trying to be something outside of what it says it's supposed to be. And, you know, when you do this bait and switch thing and you convince people that this is country now, a guy with this click track and this bass thing going on and this hip hop stuff that's happening within the song. No, why have genres then? Why not just congeal everything like grease on the stove and just say, okay, we have no more genres, you know? No more countries, no more genres. It's just one big new world order of music, and it's all the same. It's all good. If you put a cowboy hat on, you're country. If you put some gold chains on, and they're big chains, and there's like a big dollar thing hanging from your neck, then you're a rap star. You know, it's just, I don't know where rock winds up with all of this, but it seems as though everything is just coming together in the worst possible way. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. Waylon Jennings versus Garth Brooks, and Garth Brooks gets his clock cleaned by a country outlaw legend who definitely deserves some kind of a tribute or revival. You want to put somebody in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that deserves to go in there? Waylon Jennings, 100%, because he embodies the spirit of rock and roll, even though he's a country guy. He's an outlaw. In fact, all of the country outlaws you can think of, they all belong. Didn't they just put Willie Nelson in? If they're putting Willie in, they should be putting Waylon in. Anyway, those are a few of my thoughts. And I know some people are a little tired of some of my commentary on this stuff, but again, slow news day in the world of rock. So we switched over to country, and this great feud between a guy who didn't do anything special for country music, that would be Garth Brooks, but he did make a whole lot of money. So you have to commend him for his entrepreneurial spirit, and the fact that you know, even today, he's still very popular. And Waylon Jennings, though, is a legend. All right. So it's different. You've got a legend, and then you've got a guy who's just popular. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. God bless everyone, including Garth Brooks. But you know what, folks? Don't take Garth's advice when it comes to going to CVS and Walgreens. In fact, you may want to just not do that anymore. I'm thinking I've seen a few stories lately, and the Garth tent idea really bad, really bad. Could have had long-lasting consequences for those folks who went in there or who had a real QR code that they got by going to CVS. Don't do that anymore. Okay. Just that's my advice. If you did it before, fine. That's bad, but do yourself a favor. Don't ever do it again. All right. Okay. So that's my medical advice brought to you by Garth Brooks and Waylon Jennings and this amazing video. Thanks for watching. Let's pray for peace around the world and in your own heart. Jesus is the way. God bless everyone, and I'll see you soon.